just a moment. Okay, we're back.
Hooray.
For now. And I've got a I've got a question. You know, you mentioned earlier sometimes that anxiety can express itself in a lot of ways in our body, and got a question on why do I feel like I have the urge to poop sometimes when I'm anxious? Like, what that happen?
Yes, let's talk about poop. So first off, this is totally normal. A lot of people experience the urge to poop when they have anxiety. And yeah, me too.
Happens.
Yeah, it is just part of how your body works. So some general science behind this, you kind of have two modes that your body is in, you know, sympathetic and parasympathetic. So sympathetic is like, there's danger, something's wrong, I need to preserve myself. And this is back from our evolution of, you know, when we were just coming into our place as people and the world was still a super dangerous place, and we may have to run away from a tiger at some point. And so when we're experiencing my cat is chipping into this conversation. When we're experiencing these kind of events, like in the moment while it's happening, your body tends to shut down a little bit and say, like, I'm going to preserve my energy so I can use it to run away or fight or whatever I need to do in this moment. And so your body has some kind of like kill switches in it to say, like, hey, there's danger. I'm going to do what my body needs to do to fight, flight, or freeze. And now in our modern world, those same chemicals give us those same signals, even though, like, it might be an upcoming math test instead of a tiger. Okay. So there's something called your vagus nerve, and your vagus means wandering. So this nerve starts in your brain and it goes down your spine and then it goes like all over your body. And the vagus nerve is in really close contact with your digestive system. So when your body starts sending out these signals like, hey, something's wrong, I'm in danger, even if you're not actually in danger because it's just a math test, that vagus nerve can get overstimulated and can tell your body, like, hey, you need to release all of those excess things that are going to make it harder for me to run. That includes your poop.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's super normal. It's just like your body's parasympathetic response and being like, okay, like, I need to get back to a place of being physically okay so I can deal with this danger my brain is perceiving. And yeah, so it makes you poop or it gives you stomach cramps or other things.
Gotcha. Makes you sweat, maybe.
Yeah, some sweat. Yep.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. So what are some positive outlets for my emotions? If I'm stressed or sad or, you know, anxious, maybe even angry about what's going on, how can I, you know, positively, you know, work through some of those feelings I'm having? What can I do?
So The first thing I recommend is actually going to go right back to what we just talked about. Try to use the bathroom because that might actually make you feel better. A lot of times, if you talk with like elementary school teachers and a kid comes up and they're saying that they're upset about whatever the thing may be, that elementary school teacher is going to say, have you pooped? Have you had a snack? And have you had some water?
All right.
And that still applies even as you get older. Take care of those really basic things that your body needs and see if that helps. And that's a good first step. It's just do the real basics.
Food
If
hygiene.
it continues, which is okay, it does for a lot of people, try to distract yourself and try to engage your body to kind of draw attention away from your brain. So exercising, going for a run or a hike or a bike ride, it releases endorphins, which are your I'm going to be happy chemicals. It is a distraction. It's good for you. Like that's an option. Play a musical instrument or sing. Do some art. Art is so helpful for a lot of people when they're feeling frustrated.
What if I'm not good at art?
You don't have to show it to anyone.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's just for you. It's
Does it
just for
still help
yourself.
if I don't think it looks good? Does it still help me to make it?
It does for a lot of people, not for everybody. That's okay. Part of it is finding things that work for you. And that may change over time. When I was a teenager, the idea of making art was kind of horrifying to me because I was a perfectionist. But now I love to throw together a quick drawing if I need to, and it doesn't really matter if it looks bad because it's just a way to put my emotions onto a paper. And that can kind of help you sort out what's going on in your head as well. But if that doesn't work for you, there are so many other things you can do as a distraction. You can meditate. You can practice deep breathing, which you don't have to be meditating to deep breathe. And that's a big misconception. You can just be sitting at your desk at school and just take some deep breaths. Side note, the deep breathing can also help with the anxiety pooping thing.
Good to know.
Yeah.
When I'm really stressed out, if I just stop for a minute and take a really deep breath in and say, okay, just take a second, it can really help me refocus if I'm really anxious or there's something crazy going on and I don't know how to fix it. I found that taking just that really deep breath really help.
Yes, absolutely. I'm the same way. It's a way to press that pause button. And especially when things are overwhelming, just focus on okay, even if I feel like I can't control what's going on around me, I can control this breath. And then take it little steps from there. Let's see, what are some other ways to release some emotions? You can volunteer. You can go pick up litter or help someone who needs help or leave a positive comment on social media. Personally, go ahead, Andy.
I was going to ask, are video games a good distraction? Maybe?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay.
Video games are really stimulating. And so sometimes when you have a lot going on in your head, adding something that's really stimulating can make it hard to sort through what's going on.
Mm.
Generally, when we're talking about distractions, we're looking for things that also help you relax. So there are definitely some video games that do help you relax, but I would be cautious about using this as your first go-to. Because with video games, it might feel really good in the moment, but it might actually be putting more pressure on your brain.
Mm.
So I'm not saying don't play video games. I love video games, but just maybe be cautious about using this as your first line of a stress reliever.
That seems fair.
So some other things. Personally, I love baking.
Mm.
Just, putting together a batch of cookies and then bringing it to my friends is something I really love doing. And Andy, I think you've benefited from that a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Going outside, we're people that really love green. And so just finding some way to experience nature, even if it's just for a little bit, that can really help. Or if the weather's kind of gross, going and watching some Planet Earth.
I love doing that. It's always fun and just to hear a soothing voice tell me about something. That's always nice too, and it kind of takes me out of where I am, and I don't, it's
Oh yeah.
to hear calming voices when I'm already feeling anxious versus going and watching some really action-packed movie or something like that that might just make me even more nervous.
Yeah. Or Carl Sagan's Cosmos. That's a really good one for helping you chill.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Any other ideas of things?
Yeah. You can read, you can journal, you can talk to someone, you can go dance, you can watch the sunrise, or read or write a book. Uh, find something you're grateful for. One of the things that I recommend is 5 good things. So if something's feeling really overwhelming, just take a moment and list 5 good things and try to make at least 2 of them related to the situation you're in, and 3 just general good things. So like if you fail a test, two good things related to that might be like, hey, I've done well on other tests in this class, and I know that it's in my power to ask the teacher for help. And then 3 things that are good in general and might not be related to that is I am really good at drawing cats. I tell really lame pun jokes. I have a cool hairdo. Just 5 positive things you can focus on, and then find one thing you can change or one action you can take. Like, hey, I just failed this test. One action I can take is I can study 10 more minutes every day. So just kind of laying that out and giving yourself some action to do, that can really be helpful.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
And one of the resources I'm going to send you, Andy, to put at the end of this video is 50 ways to constructively channel negative emotions. So it'll have a lot of really good ideas on there.
That sounds great. I was just thinking about maybe taking like a bubble bath too, or doing something nice for myself. I know.
Absolutely. Pamper yourself. Yes.
Yeah. Taking a break just to focus on you for a little bit when you're in a stressful situation or you're having a bad week. Just take a little time for yourself.
Yes. And, if you're in kind of a chaotic environment or someplace that feels really loud, do you remember when you were a toddler and you did something naughty and your parents would be like, hey, go to the corner?
Yeah, a few times.
So that's that's not really a punishment if you think about it. It's a way to help you calm down. So if you're in a really stressful or really stimulating environment, find a corner, not necessarily a literal corner, but like just find a place that you can just kind of step away from that for a moment.
Would that be like, can I go to my room and close the door if I just need a quiet room to be in? Would that
that can be part of it. Maybe go for a walk. Sometimes if you ask the adults in your life, they can help create a space like that for you. Like, hey, I know when I was a teenager, if I started baking, everyone just left me alone. So that was kind of my corner. Or if there's a really comfy chair you like, or maybe your corner is to put some headphones in and listen to some music, and that's like a virtual corner.
Gotcha. Well, that sounds really good, and I look forward to seeing that list of 50 other things we can do. That's great. And one last question we got into was, how can I stop negative self-talk? Like in my mind, if I'm kind of feeling, not great about myself, and it just feels like my brain just won't stop talking or telling me bad things. How do I get that to stop?
This is so common because we are our own worst critics, and we are the ones who remember things in our life that other people probably don't remember but still bother us. Like I still remember that one time I got into a fight in second grade with somebody. I'm sure that they don't even remember that happened. And so it's really hard to turn that off and stop beating yourself up sometimes. But there's some 4 good steps you can really follow to take this down gradually, because this is one of the things that people really struggle with. Is they start to negative self-talk and they think, I need to stop this now, and then you just get into a fighting match with yourself where you're not really able to break out of that, and then you feel bad because you're not able to break out of that, and it can spiral. But the first thing to do is just acknowledge it. Acknowledge, like, hey, I am feeling bad thoughts about myself. And a thought does not equal a fact. And that can be really tough because, like, we really feel often that what we are experiencing is so real, and it is real to us, but that doesn't mean it's true. So just noticing that you're doing it, that's your first step. The second step is to kind of take that step back, take a breath, take a pause, and say, this is not me. This is a little thing inside of me that's trying to put me down. And there are a lot of comics out there that do a really good job of taking that little voice and kind of creating a little character that follows the person around. And I'll be sending Andy a couple of those comics that are really good to include with the list of resources. But just know that that little voice is just a separate part of you. Your brain has so many parts to it, and that's just like a tiny little part. And it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you are worthless. Just notice it and then say, this isn't who I am. And then push back against that little part and say, hey, I don't want to hear what you have to say. and acknowledge this is causing me distress, and I'm not going to listen to it. And keep telling yourself that. And then find something to replace it with. This can be helpful to talk with a friend. It can be helpful to distract yourself. It can be helpful to do that 5 good things and 1 thing you can change. So if I'm really focused on, oh my gosh, like I failed this test, this is horrible, I am never going to get into college, I am never going to have a good life, everything is ruined. A way to apply these 4 steps is, okay, I'm being really critical of myself right now. This isn't me. I know that I'm a really good student, so I'm not going to let it affect me. Instead, I'm going to focus on 5 good things and 1 thing I can change. And that's those 4 steps.
It's good to know. And I like thinking about, this isn't necessarily me. It's like just a part of my brain that's overreacting or overthinking things. That is a really hard thing to try to learn. And I imagine this is a thing that takes practice over time.
Absolutely.
Work right away.
Yes, it takes a lot of practice, and that's part of why it can be so frustrating. But your brain, well, like I said, you're your hardest critic, and it can be really hard to take a step back and realize that there is a difference. When I'm referring to that part of myself, I call it my jerk brain. So if I'm just feeling really down on myself, I might turn to my partner and say, like, hey, my jerk brain is telling me that I, can't cook very well. I don't know, whatever the case may be. And just putting a voice to it or a name to it. Maybe you can name it Fred or, Karen. Like, just finding a way to separate that from yourself. Just like, hey, my jerk brain is saying this, but I know that's not actually true. So now I need to figure out how I can help myself.
Sounds good. Oh man, well, thank you so much for taking time, Amanda, to help answer some questions. I don't think people get to talk about this a lot, or it's something that's becoming more and more important to young kids every day, and just even knowing where to start to look for some resources, I think would be really helpful. I know it's a really common thing for people to go through mental health issues more and more. This year's been really stressful for a lot of people too. So, it's just good. It's and we want our campers to know that there are resources. There are people you can talk to. We just want to get you guys at least started on the right path. If you're starting to wonder, if you're okay or if you need help, we just want to try to get you on the right track and know that we're here to care for you guys too.
Yeah. And one thing I'm going to leave all of you with is it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to need help. It's okay to have things in your life that you need to work through. That's just part of growing up. But there are a lot of resources available to you, and there are a lot of people who care about you, and you're going to be okay.
Yeah. I think one of the most important things someone has ever told me that is, it's not normal to be happy all the time. It happens. Like we're capable of processing so many emotions, and there's reasons we cry. There's reasons we feel great joy. It's all there to help you process. So yeah, it's a good reminder. So, all right. Well, thank you so much. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to email us. We can try to get something back, or like we said, a really great place to go. First place to go if you're feeling down or worried or anxious, sad. Find a caring adult that you trust, and just ask them if they have some time to talk. So, I think that's a pretty good takeaway. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. And
yes. Bye, everybody.
see you another time, hopefully soon. Bye.